What if I told you that the key to truly living is to disappear? Now, before you start looking for the exit, let me assure you, I'm not talking about vanishing into thin air or running away from your responsibilities. I'm talking about something far more powerful, far more transformative. I'm talking about disappearing from the life you think you're supposed to have and becoming unrecognizable to the person you used to be. How many of us are living lives that don't quite fit? We wake up each morning, go through the motions, and deep down, we feel that nagging sense that something's missing. We've become experts at fitting into the molds others have created for us, our parents, our peers, society at large. But what if we could break free from those molds? What if we could shed the layers of expectations, limitations, and false beliefs that have accumulated over the years? What if we could disappear from our old selves and reappear as the people we were always meant to be? What it truly means to disappear and become unrecognizable. Not in a way that erases who you are, but in a way that reveals your authentic self. This journey isn't about running away from your life. It's about running towards your true potential. It's about having the courage to let go of who you think you are to become who you're truly meant to be. So let me ask you, are you ready to disappear? Are you ready to become unrecognizable even to yourself? Because if you are, you're about to embark on the most exciting, challenging, and rewarding journey of your life. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Disappear? Become unrecognizable? That sounds drastic. That sounds scary. And you're right, it can be. But let me tell you something. The most significant growth, the most profound transformations, they always happen outside our comfort zones. A caterpillar doesn't become a butterfly by staying comfortable. It has to enter the chrysalis, a place of complete transformation. In that chrysalis, the caterpillar literally dissolves. It disappears. And from that dissolution, something new and beautiful emerges. That's the kind of disappearing I'm talking about. It's not about erasing yourself. It's about shedding the parts of you that no longer serve your growth, that no longer align with your true self. Unlike the caterpillar, we have a choice. We can choose to stay as we are, comfortable in our familiar patterns and habits. Or we can choose to enter our own chrysalis, to disappear from what we've always been and emerge as something new, something truer to our authentic selves. Now, you might be wondering, how do I even begin this process? How do I start to disappear and become unrecognizable? It starts with a simple question. Who are you when no one is watching? Not who you pretend to be to please others. Not the role you play at work or in your family. Who are you at your core? What are your true passions, your deepest values, your wildest dreams? For many of us, answering this question is harder than it seems. We've spent so long living up to others' expectations that we've lost touch with our own desires. We become unrecognizable to ourselves in the worst way, by becoming someone we're not. So the first step in disappearing and becoming unrecognizable is to reconnect with your authentic self. This might mean revisiting childhood passions you've long since abandoned. It might mean exploring new interests that you've always been curious about but never had the courage to pursue. It's about peeling back the layers of societal expectations, family pressures, and self-imposed limitations to rediscover the real you underneath. Now, this process isn't always comfortable. In fact, it can be downright terrifying at times. Why? Because as humans, we're wired to seek safety and predictability. Our brains prefer the devil we know to the angel we don't. Comfort is overrated. Comfort doesn't lead to growth. Comfort doesn't lead to fulfillment. Comfort leads to stagnation. When was the last time you felt truly alive? I bet it wasn't when you were sitting on your couch, scrolling through your phone. I bet it was when you were challenging yourself, when you were stepping out of your comfort zone, when you were becoming a little bit unrecognizable to your old self. That's the paradox of disappearing and becoming unrecognizable. The more you let go of who you think you should be, the more you become who you truly are. Y'all must be thinking that, but I have responsibilities. I can't just abandon my life and start over. And you're absolutely right. Disappearing isn't about running away from your obligations. It's about running towards your true self. A few years back, I met Josie, a brilliant young woman working in a prestigious law firm. From the outside, she had it all: the corner office, the impressive salary, the respect of her colleagues. But when I looked in her eyes, I saw a dullness that broke my heart. Over dinner one evening, Josie confided in me. "I feel like I'm living someone else's life," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I became a lawyer because that's what my parents wanted. I climbed the corporate ladder because that's what society expected. But deep down, I've always dreamed of being a teacher." Josie's story is not unique. So many of us find ourselves trapped in lives we never truly chose. We become unrecognizable not because we've grown, but because we've conformed. It's never too late to disappear from that life and reappear as your authentic self. Josie took a leap of faith. She didn't quit her job overnight or burn bridges. Instead, she started volunteering at a local school on weekends. She rediscovered her passion for education and began taking small steps towards her dream. 2 years later, I received a letter from her. She had transitioned into a full-time teaching career and had never been happier. "I feel like I've finally become myself," she wrote. And that, my friends, is the power of disappearing and becoming unrecognizable. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. That's all well and good, but I don't have the luxury of starting over. I have bills to pay, mouths to feed, and I hear you. I truly do. But let me ask you this. Are those really reasons, or are they excuses? You see, disappearing and becoming unrecognizable isn't about making drastic, irresponsible changes. It's about making a series of small, deliberate choices that align with your true self. It's about having the courage to say no to things that don't serve your growth, to opportunities that scare you but excite you at the same time. Imagine you're a sculpture hidden within a block of marble. The you that exists right now, with all your current habits, beliefs, and limitations, that's the block of marble, the process of disappearing and becoming unrecognizable. That's you, the artist, chipping away at that marble, revealing the masterpiece that's always been inside. Every time you choose to speak your truth instead of staying silent, you're chipping away at the marble. Every time you pursue a passion instead of succumbing to procrastination, you're revealing more of your true self. And every time you choose growth over comfort, you're becoming a little more unrecognizable to the person you used to be. This process isn't always comfortable. In fact, it can be downright terrifying at times. Why? Because as humans, we're wired to seek safety and predictability. Our brains prefer the devil we know to the angel we don't. Tom was a talented musician who had always dreamed of performing on stage. But for years, he kept his talent hidden, playing his guitar alone in his room. Why? Because he was terrified of judgment. He'd disappear into his music when he was alone. But the thought of being seen, truly seen, paralyzed him with fear. One day I challenged Tom. I said, what if, for just 1 week, you disappeared from your fear? What if you became unrecognizable to that part of yourself that always says, I can't? Tom looked at me like I'd grown a second head. But something in those words must have resonated, because the next week, he signed up for an open mic night at a local cafe. Now, I'd love to tell you that Tom got up on that stage and brought the house down, that he disappeared from his old self and reappeared as a confident, charismatic performer, but that's not what happened. Tom got up on that stage, played 3 chords, forgot the words to his song, and practically ran off in embarrassment. But here's the beautiful part. He did it. For those few minutes, Tom disappeared from his comfort zone. He became unrecognizable to his fear. And in doing so, he took the first step towards becoming the person he'd always dreamed of being. The next week, Tom was back at that open mic night. And the week after that, each time he stayed on stage a little longer. Each performance was a little better than the last. 6 months later, I watched Tom perform a full set at a popular music venue, his confidence radiating through every note. When I caught up with him after the show, Tom said something I'll never forget. You know, he mused I thought disappearing meant I had to become someone else. But really, it was about becoming more of who I already am. And that, my friends, is the heart of what we're talking about today. Disappearing and becoming unrecognizable isn't about erasing who you are. It's about erasing who you're not. It's about peeling away the layers of societal expectations, self-doubt, and limiting beliefs to reveal the authentic, powerful individual that's always been there. Now, I can see some of you shifting uncomfortably in your seats. Maybe you're thinking, this all sounds great, but I don't know who I really am. How can I become unrecognizable to a self I'm not even sure exists? First of all, let me assure you, you're not alone. In fact, this uncertainty is often the first step in the journey of disappearing and becoming unrecognizable. It's like standing at the edge of a fog-covered field. You can't see what's out there, but you know you can't stay where you are. So how do you start? How do you begin this process of disappearing from your current self and becoming unrecognizable in the best possible way? It starts with a simple question. What makes you come alive? Not what makes you successful in the eyes of others. Not what earns you the most money or status. What makes you feel fully, vibrantly alive? For some of you, the answer might come immediately. For others, it might take some soul singing, and that's okay. In fact, that soul searching is part of the disappearing process. Start by trying new things. Take a class in something you've always been curious about. Travel to a place you've never been. Have conversations with people whose lives are completely different from yours. As you do this, pay attention to what resonates with you. What lights a fire in your belly? What makes you lose track of time? Remember, this isn't about finding your one true passion or life's purpose. It's about reconnecting with your curiosity, your sense of wonder, your ability to learn and grow. Let me tell you about Maria. Maria was a successful accountant who came to one of my seminars feeling lost and unfulfilled. She couldn't put her finger on what was wrong, but she knew something was missing. I asked Maria to spend the next month trying one new thing every week, no matter how small. She was skeptical, but agreed to give it a shot. The first week, Maria took a pottery class. She hated it. Her pots were lopsided, her glazing was a mess, and she left with clay under her fingernails and frustration in her heart. The second week, she attended a local photography meetup. It was okay, but it didn't spark any particular passion. The third week, on a whim, she signed up for a weekend volunteer project at a wildlife rescue center. And something clicked. For the first time in years, Maria felt truly alive. She was exhausted, dirty, and happier than she'd been in a long time. Now, this doesn't mean Maria quit her job and became a full-time wildlife rescuer. But it was the beginning of her disappearing from the life she thought she should have and becoming unrecognizable to her former self. Over the next year, Maria started volunteering regularly at the rescue center. She took courses in wildlife biology. She started a blog about local conservation efforts. And yes, she kept her day job as an accountant. But she began to specialize in nonprofit accounting, eventually landing a position with a major environmental organization. The Maria I met a year later was almost unrecognizable from the woman who had attended my seminar. Her eyes sparkled with purpose. Her posture radiated confidence. She had disappeared from a life that was merely satisfactory and reappeared in a life that was deeply fulfilling. Maria's transformation didn't happen overnight. It wasn't a single dramatic gesture. It was a series of small decisions, each one bringing her a little closer to her authentic self. And that's the secret, my friends. Disappearing and becoming unrecognizable isn't about making one big life-altering choice. It's about making 1,000 tiny choices, each one aligned with who you truly are and who you want to become. It's about choosing courage over comfort, growth over stagnation, authenticity over approval. It's about disappearing from the crowd of people living lives of quiet desperation and reappearing as someone who is fully, unapologetically alive. You might be thinking that. That's all well and good. But what about the practical realities of life? I have responsibilities, obligations. I can't just disappear from those. And you're absolutely right. Disappearing and becoming unrecognizable isn't about abandoning your responsibilities. It's about changing your relationship with them. Let me give you an example. I once knew a man named David who felt trapped in his job as a middle manager at a large corporation. He had a family to support, a mortgage to pay, and he felt like he couldn't possibly leave his secure but unfulfilling job. But David decided to disappear from his old way of thinking. Instead of seeing his job as a trap, he chose to see it as a launching pad. He started using his lunch breaks to work on a side project he was passionate about. He volunteered to lead new initiatives at work, developing skills that aligned with his true interests. Over time, David became unrecognizable to his colleagues, not because he changed jobs, but because he changed his approach to his work. He brought energy and creativity to tasks he once found mundane. He built new relationships and seized opportunities he would have previously ignored. 2 years later, David was offered a position that combined his corporate experience with his personal passions. He didn't have to choose between security and fulfillment. By disappearing from his old mindset, he created a new reality where he could have both. The point is this: disappearing and becoming unrecognizable isn't about escaping your life. It's about transforming it from the inside out. It's about disappearing from the voice in your head that says, "I can't," and reappearing as someone who says, "How can I?" It's about vanishing from the crowd of people who settle for less than they deserve and emerging as someone who creates the life they truly want. It's about becoming unrecognizable to your fears, your doubts, your limiting beliefs, and in doing so, becoming more recognizable to your true self. Now, I want to be clear about something. This journey of disappearing and becoming unrecognizable, it's not always easy. There will be days when you feel lost, confused, maybe even scared. There will be moments when you're tempted to reappear as your old self, to slip back into familiar patterns and comfortable limitations. But I want you to remember something in those moments. Growth happens in the uncomfortable spaces. Transformation occurs when we're willing to sit with uncertainty, to embrace the discomfort of becoming. Think about a caterpillar entering its chrysalis. If you could ask that caterpillar how it feels as it begins to transform, do you think it would say it's comfortable? Of course not. It's literally dissolving its old form to become something entirely new. That process of dissolving you, that's disappearing. And the butterfly that emerges, that's becoming unrecognizable. You, my friends, are all caterpillars with the potential to become butterflies. But you have to be willing to enter the chrysalis. You have to be willing to disappear from what you've always been to become what you're capable of being. So how do you do this? How do you navigate this journey of disappearing and becoming unrecognizable? First, you need to get clear on your values. Not the values you think you should have, but the values that truly resonate with your authentic self. What matters most to you? What principles do you want to guide your life? Once you've identified your core values, use them as a compass to guide your decisions. Every choice you make is an opportunity to align more closely with your authentic self. When faced with a decision, ask yourself, which option will help me disappear from who I've been and become more recognizable to who I want to be? This process of aligning your actions with your values is transformative. It's like tuning an instrument. At first, the discord might be jarring, but as you adjust, a beautiful harmony emerges. You'll find yourself making choices that may surprise those around you, choices that reflect the person you're becoming rather than the person you've been. But remember, this isn't about perfection. It's about progress. There will be times when you slip back into old patterns, when the familiar beckons with its siren song of comfort. That's okay. Acknowledge it, learn from it, and then choose again to disappear from that old self. As you embark on this journey, you'll need to cultivate self-awareness. Pay attention to your thoughts, your emotions, your reactions. Notice when you're acting out of habit or fear rather than intention and authenticity. These moments of awareness are opportunities to disappear from old patterns and reappear as your true self. One powerful way to develop this self-awareness is through mindfulness practices. This could be meditation, journaling, or simply taking a few moments each day to check in with yourself. Ask yourself, am I being true to who I am today, or am I living out an old version of myself? As you become more aware, you'll start to notice the gaps between who you are and who you're pretending to be. These gaps are your invitations to disappear and become unrecognizable. Something that might feel counterintuitive at first. The power of saying no. In our society, we're often taught that success comes from saying yes to every opportunity. But here's the truth. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with your authentic self, you're saying no to becoming who you're meant to be. Practice saying no to things that don't align with your authentic self, even if they're things you've always said yes to in the past. Each no is an act of disappearing from your old self. And with each no to what doesn't serve you, you create space to say yes to what does. This might mean saying no to social engagements that drain you, to projects that don't excite you, or even to relationships that no longer support your growth. It's not always easy, but it's necessary. Remember, you're not just saying no to something, you're saying yes to yourself. As you start to make these changes, you might notice some resistance from the people around you. This is normal when you start to disappear from your old self and become unrecognizable. It can be unsettling for those who are used to the old you. Some people might try to pull you back into old patterns. They might question your choices or try to make you feel guilty for changing. This isn't because they don't care about you. It's often because your transformation is holding up a mirror to their own lives, showing them the changes they're afraid to make. This is why it's crucial to surround yourself with people who support your growth. As you begin to disappear from your old self and become unrecognizable, seek out individuals who celebrate your evolution. These are the people who will cheer you on as you step into your chrysalis, who will be there to welcome the new you when you emerge. Building the supportive network might mean reaching out to like-minded individuals through clubs, classes, or online communities. It might mean deepening relationships with friends who inspire you to grow. And sometimes it might mean creating some distance from relationships that keep you tethered to your old self. Remember, you're not leaving people behind. You're inviting them to grow with you. Some will accept that invitation and some won't. And that's okay. Failure. Our society often treats failure as something to be ashamed of, something to hide. But I want you to start seeing failure different. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's a crucial part of success. Every time you fail, you're disappearing from an old limitation and reappearing with new knowledge, new resilience. A baby learning to walk. They fall down countless times, But we don't look at a baby taking their first steps, falling, and think, well, I guess walking just isn't for them. No, we encourage them to get back up and try again. We celebrate their efforts, knowing that each fall is bringing them closer to success. That's the attitude I want you to have towards failure as you disappear from your old self and become unrecognizable. Embrace failure as a teacher. When you try something new and it doesn't work out, don't see it as a sign that you should give up. See it as valuable data, information that will help you adjust your approach and try again. Remember, the only true failure is the failure to grow, the failure to try, the failure to step into the chrysalis of transformation. As you navigate this journey, it's important to celebrate your progress. Becoming unrecognizable is a process, not a destination. Take time to acknowledge how far you've come. Celebrate the moments when you choose courage over comfort, authenticity over approval. These celebrations don't have to be grand gestures. Maybe it's taking a moment to journal about a small victory. Maybe it's sharing your progress with a trusted friend. Or maybe it's simply pausing to acknowledge yourself in the mirror, recognizing the person you're becoming. These celebrations serve two important purposes. First, they reinforce the positive changes you're making, encouraging you to continue on your path. Second, they help you recognize the incremental changes that, over time, lead to profound transformation, a powerful tool in your journey of disappearing and becoming unrecognizable. Curiosity. Curiosity is the antidote to complacency, the enemy of stagnation. When you approach life with curiosity, you open yourself up to new possibilities, new ways of being. Cultivate a sense of wonder about the world and about yourself. Ask questions. Challenge assumptions, especially your own. When you catch yourself thinking, that's just the way I am, get curious. Is that really who you are, or is it who you've been conditioned to be? Curiosity can lead you down unexpected paths. It can reveal passions you never knew you had, strengths you didn't realize you possessed. It can help you disappear from the person you thought you were and become unrecognizable in the most delightful ways. One powerful way to nurture curiosity is through lifelong learning. Never stop seeking knowledge, whether through formal education, self-study, or simply engaging in conversations with people who have different perspectives than your own. Learning keeps your mind flexible, adaptable. It helps you stay open to new ideas and new ways of being. In a world that's constantly changing, the ability to learn and adapt is crucial. It allows you to continually disappear from outdated versions of yourself and emerge as someone who's equipped to thrive in new circumstances. As you continue on this journey of disappearing and becoming unrecognizable, I want to talk about the importance of patience and self-compassion. Transformation doesn't happen overnight. Just as it takes time for a caterpillar to become a butterfly, it takes time for you to shed old layers and emerge as your authentic self. There will be days when you feel like you're making incredible progress, and there will be days when you feel like you're right back where you started. On those difficult days, be patient with yourself. Remind yourself that growth isn't linear. Sometimes what feels like a step backward is actually your psyche integrating new changes, preparing for the next leap forward. Practice self-compassion. Treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a dear friend who's undertaking a challenging journey. Disappearing from your old self and becoming unrecognizable is courageous work. Honor the courage by being gentle with yourself. I want to leave you with a powerful visualization exercise. Close your eyes for a moment, if you're comfortable doing so. Imagine yourself 5 years from now, having fully embraced this journey of disappearing and becoming unrecognizable. Who are you in this vision? How do you carry yourself? What light shines from your eyes? What work are you doing in the world? How do you interact with others? How do you feel when you wake up in the morning? This vision isn't about specific achievements or possessions. It's about who you are at your core when you've fully stepped into your authentic self. Hold on this vision. Let it guide you. Let it remind you why you're doing the challenging work of transformation. As you open your eyes and come back to the present moment, I want you to remember the journey of disappearing and becoming unrecognizable is uniquely yours. There's no one right way to do it. What matters is that you start, that you keep going, that you remain true to yourself, even when it's difficult. You have within you everything you need to disappear from the life you think you should have and emerge into the life you're meant to live. You have the courage, the resilience, the creativity. All you need to do is choose. Choose to enter the chrysalis. Choose to embrace the discomfort of growth. Choose to become unrecognizable to your old limitations and fears. Remember, every day is an opportunity to disappear a little more from who you've been and become a little more recognizable to who you truly are. Every choice, every action, every thought is a chance to align more closely with your authentic self. So, my friends, I challenge you. Starting today, choose to disappear, choose to become unrecognizable. Choose to step fully into the magnificent, unique, powerful individual you were always meant to be. The world is waiting for the real you to emerge. It's time to spread your wings and fly.